Welcome to Joy Recovery Radio. In this space, we talk about betrayal, recovery, and relational harm through the lens of integrity, accountability, and trauma-informed care. Our goal is not to rush healing or prescribe outcomes, but to offer language, clarity, and grounded perspective. This podcast is educational, not therapeutic. You're invited to listen slowly, take what resonates, and leave the rest. Let's begin.
Today we're talking about ethical containment. We want to start by telling you what it's not, because most people, when they hear the word containment, they immediately go somewhere that makes this more difficult than it needs to be.
Yeah, so ethical containment, it's not a leash, it's not punishment, it's not your partner trying to control you, it's not the betrayed partner being paranoid or unreasonable.
That's right. Ethical containment is one of the most misunderstood tools in recovery. When it is misunderstood, even worse, if we weaponize it, it can do a lot of damage. The person trying to heal, to the person trying to rebuild trust, to that third entity, the relationship.
We'll talk about what ethical containment actually is, why it matters, what it looks like in real life, what happens when it's refused, how both partners can use it as a tool for genuine recovery, not just damage control. I love storytelling, so I want to start by telling a story. For confidentiality reasons, I'm going to call them Marcus and Beverly, which is not their real names, but a very real situation we've seen played out more times than I can count. So Marcus has been in recovery for about 4 months. He was going to meetings, he had a therapist, he was doing the work, well, at least on paper, so he was pretty much checking the boxes. His wife was exhausted. She was sleeping about 3 hours a night. She was checking the credit card statements at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. She was watching his face every time his phone lit up, trying to figure out if she had missed something or if he was keeping secrets from her.
So her nervous system was just absolutely overwhelmed. She's scanning for danger.
Exactly. Here's what Beverly asked for. She asked Marcus to delete one messaging app he had used to contact affair partners. Here's what she said. She said, "I don't need to see your phone every hour. I don't need your location. I just need you to remove one thing that you used to hurt me."
That request is completely reasonable. In fact, it is a very contained request. It's compatible with what we're talking about today, ethical containment.
Right. So what is unbelievable about the story is Marcus said no. He said, "I'm not using it anymore. I haven't touched it. You just need to trust me."
Well, I'm sure that his reply went over about as well as you would expect.
Yeah. Beverly later told me, she said, "That was the moment I stopped believing him. Not just because of what he did before, but because of what he was refusing to do after." That is so real for us.
That refusal to delete one app spoke louder than all 4 months of recovery work, all the meetings, the steps, the sponsor, all of that. Behavior is a language that speaks volumes.
Here's the thing. Maybe Marcus really wasn't using the app, but maybe this was coming from a control dynamic, like, I'm not going to do this for her because she wants to control me. But here's the thing about recovery. You can be sober, you can be in therapy, you can be doing all the external things and still be unsafe for your partner. Because safety and sobriety are not the same thing. You can be working the steps and still be making your partner feel like they're the problem for needing reassurance.
By the way, Marcus, he did eventually come around. It took a few sessions. It took some serious conversations about what his refusal was actually communicating to Beverly. But once he understood that the app was not the point, that the point was her nervous system, her safety, her ability to breathe in her own home, get some sleep. Once he saw it for what it really was, put it in perspective, he did delete the app. Beverly said it didn't fix everything, but it was the first night in months that she got more than 3 hours of sleep.
That's what containment does. It doesn't erase the past, but it stops the present from feeling unsafe, unsteady, dangerous.
So let's go ahead and start with a clean, clear definition of ethical containment. Then we're going to flesh it out from there.
Go for it.
Ethical containment means this: the person who caused harm willingly removes access to the tools they used to cause harm in order to restore safety. That's it. Read it back, write it down, put it on your fridge if you need to. Person who caused harm willingly removes access to that which they used to cause harm in order to establish safety.
Exactly, 100%. There's two clarifications that have to follow immediately after that definition. Because the definition without clarification, we know how that goes. It gets twisted, manipulated, wordsmith.
Okay, what's the first one?
The first one is containment is not punishment. We've got to stop looking her need for safety, maybe certain requests that she makes, as she's trying to control you. This is repair. This is not about making someone pay for what they did. It's not about making them feel like they are the weaker person. It's about closing the wound instead of leaving it open. Because a really great just phrase to remember: punishment looks backwards, repair looks forward.
So another clarification, this one really changes everything. Containment has to come from a place of genuine willingness from us betrayers. If we're doing it because we're feeling forced to, that is very likely going to generate some resentment. Resentment is toxic for any relationship, not just relationships that are trying to recover from betrayal. So there's got to be this genuine willingness. This is an aspect of restorative justice. This is facing reality, a reality of what you've done. Restorative justice is simply this: you broke it, you fix it. This is part of the repair work. This is ethical. This is the right thing to do. This is integrous. You need to take the tools that caused harm, have containment around those tools. Your desire to provide safety for your partner, to do the repair work, restorative justice, ethical containment, that desire to provide safety for her has to outweigh the desire to be free, to live however you want, to do whatever you want. That is real recovery. That is integrity work.
It's a really simple principle. If you used it to harm, if you used it to deceive, if you used it to contain the secret basement, you don't use it anymore. This is not about a power struggle. It's just the logical explanation of rebuilding after damage has been done.
So when we help couples work on ethical containment, one of the questions that we ask to clarify things is, was this tool used in the past to directly cause harm? A couple of examples. If part of his acting out was he carried cash with him, then that needs to be contained. That's a high risk for the betrayed partner. Were work trips used as part of the way that he would covertly act out? If so, there needs to be containment. That was a tool that caused direct harm. Did he have a smartphone that he used to secretly message people? If so, there needs to be containment with that. Did he have a secret app that he used to hide things? If so, then absolutely. These are what we call direct harm tools. They're non-negotiable. They must have containment or there's not going to be safety. When we say non-negotiable, what we mean by this is if it was a direct harm tool, then it needs to, at a minimum, access needs to be completely restructured and contained. Or for some of your direct harm tools, they just need to be eliminated from your life. Safety looks like getting rid of them.
Just one caveat to this. If you've not had a full disclosure, you might be in the dark about how he acted out, how he covered his tracks, what was in his secret basement. So that's one of the reasons we really, really encourage couples to do the full disclosure so she has an awareness of what she really needs for safety.
She needs to know what those tools that cause direct harm were so that they can now be contained so that her nervous system cannot be on fire all the time.
100%,
Yeah.
because everything that he does could feel like a threat.
Mm-hmm.
It could feel unsafe. So there's definitely a need for that transparency.
Recovery breaks down when people are pushed into action before they understand the injury. Education has to come before intervention. That's why we created the Joy Recovery Academy. The Academy is our flagship educational space, designed to help you make sense of betrayal trauma, integrity abuse, nervous system responses, and what real recovery sequencing actually looks like, without pressure to fix anything or decide anything yet. This is where clarity replaces confusion and where you finally get a map before anyone tells you where to go. The Academy includes live teaching twice a week, a growing on-demand library, and hundreds of the same frameworks and tools we use with our private coaching clients. The Academy launches in about 3 weeks from when this episode airs. If this feels like the step you were never given, or if you want clarity before action, go to joy-recovery.com, click Academy, and join the waitlist.
And I want to draw a clear distinction between the traditional addiction model and an ethical containment model. A lot of couples come to us, the framework that they've had or that they've been instructed on is more centered around the addict. So, for instance, it's centered on stopping his behaviors, preventing relapse, reducing his shame. But it's leaving out a key element, that's the betrayed partner's healing. We can't exclude her from this story. We can't forget about what she needs for healing. That's why ethical containment is so important. It allows for there to be focus on the betrayed partner. The measure of progress isn't sobriety, it's safety. The person that we're focused on isn't just the addict, it's also the partner who's trying to survive in the same house as someone who broke their world.
The fact is, you can be completely sober and still be unsafe. Sobriety is necessary, but it's not sufficient. Ethical containment is part of what fills that gap.
So let's get practical, because we could talk, well, Rory could talk all day about theory.
Yep.
But what you actually need to know is, what do I do with this? Let's talk about both sides.
Let's start with the betrayer, the person who caused the harm. If you're listening, you know you're in that seat. Here's what we want you to hear.
Ethical containment is not about being controlled. It's about choosing discipline and accountability. There's a huge difference. Control is something that's done to you. Discipline is something that you choose because you're powerful enough to restrict yourself. That reframe is everything. So, ethical containment is about accountability, discipline, not control, creating a parent-child dynamic.
So if your partner asks you to remove something because in the past you used it to cause harm to them, your first reflex is, that's not fair, or you just need to trust me. I don't use that anymore. I haven't done that in a month or 3 months or whatever. We need you to pause on that reaction. Ask yourself, what am I protecting right now? Because a lot of the time, the resistance we feel to containment isn't so much about the specific tool, it's about what it symbolizes, which is giving up the option. That is worth reflecting on.
There are some easy, practical steps. So, the first one is to listen to what your partner is specifically asking for. not assume what you think they're asking for. In this scenario, the betrayer needs to assume positive intent. This is where, when the betrayer sees the partner as an enemy, when we ask for something, it's usually met with disdain. Remember, your partner is not the enemy. These requests are safeguards for the relationship. So here's an easy simulation to help put things in perspective. So Rory and I will do a quick simulation. Hey, Rory, I just got out of my Tuesday meeting. One of the women mentioned this new accountability tool that is really functional, doesn't have glitches. I know in the past, the accountability tool that you currently have has had several glitches, incorrect data. I was wondering, would you be willing to upload this new accountability tool? I think it would be great.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know that one of the ways that I caused so much harm to you is through technology, specifically through my phone. I'm willing to provide whatever we need to do to keep you safe. Your safety is paramount for me. It is the most important priority to me. There's nothing I would not do to keep you safe. I should have taken action on this before.
Listen, what he just said to me was so validating. I went into the conversation very nervous of asking him for yet another safety device request. But how he approached me, the willingness, was very calming. There was no defensiveness. There was no anger. He didn't deflect. There was no ego. He was just willing to provide me the safety.
A second practical step for us betrayers is to honestly reflect, what did we use to cause harm specifically? If there is something, if there's a tool, if there's a behavior, technology, if there's anything that we use to cause direct harm, then the answer is really simple. Path forward is very clear. This must be contained. We need to be proactive, provide containment for it.
Take action without being asked twice. I love the proactive. I love when we did this simulation, how you stated, I'm going to do this right now. I wish I would have thought of this sooner so I could have already put this in place. Here's the thing. Every time we have to ask, it's sending a message that our safety doesn't matter. In early recovery, that message is devastating. When we feel unsafe, we feel resistance. Hypervigilance is going to increase, go off the chart. It's not even necessarily in early recovery. It's at any point in recovery. When we're met with resistance, we go into a panic, hypervigilance. We immediately stop feeling safe. We're seeing actions as red flags.
Another practical tip is to be consistent with your containment over time. Containment is not some one-time grandiose gesture, but it is a predictable daily practice. It's what you do whether you're tired, you're frustrated, you're stressed, you're overwhelmed, or no one's watching, no one's monitoring. Our goal is to be boringly predictable. What our partner's nervous system needs is consistency. That's what they're scanning for. That is the language that speaks to them. That's where integrity actually lives.
Now let's move to the betrayed partner, because there's work here for us as well. It looks a little bit different, but it's just as important.
The first thing we want to emphasize to the betrayed partners is that you are allowed to ask for containment. Clearly, you don't need to apologize for asking him to supply safety for you. You don't need to soften your request. Your request for safety is reasonable.
Here's an easy way we recommend you frame the request. Don't do it as an ultimatum, not as an accusation, but as a clear question. Very similar to how I worded it when Rory and I did the simulation. Are you willing to provide containment around this? Are you willing to help provide safety for me? That's it. It's simple. It's dignified. It leaves room for a genuine yes.
Then after that, after you make that request, comes the hardest part of all. You have to be prepared for his response. His response could go one of two ways.
Yeah. If the answer is yes, that's great. That's a building block. Awesome. That's a building block to restoring the foundation of the house that was completely annihilated by deception. A yes is a first step, but it's not the arrival. It's just a step in the right direction.
Now, if he says no, that is data. That is
Mhm.
information for the betrayed partner.
Sure is.
What you do with his refusal to provide containment around the things that caused harm in the past, what you do with that information, that is entirely within your control. You do have more power than a lot of betrayed partners think they do. Can you make him provide containment and safety for you? Absolutely not. If you try to force him, it's not going to go well. But you absolutely can decide what you're willing to give him access to based upon his choices.
That's right. Those choices are real. They're often difficult to execute. Here's just a couple. Proximity. How physically close you are to someone who refuses to offer safety is for you to decide. Another option is creating your community, creating a support system. We get to decide who we let in to our circle, and we have the autonomy to say, this is what I want this person to know. So many times we are deemed the secret keeper in relationships. We can't tell anyone because if we do, it will ruin his image. At the end of the day, you have the authority to say, hey, this is how much I'm willing to disclose to X, Y, and Z about what we're going through. Another option is relational intimacy, the emotional and physical closeness that is yours to offer or withhold. There's also financial independence. I'm really big on this one. It's about making sure you are not structurally trapped. That could be a post-op. That could be opening up a separate account. If you've worked with me before, you know that I'm really big on protecting ourselves, our assets, just having a secondary plan in case things don't go right or he's unwilling to provide safety.
None of these choices that she faces are punishments, although for us betrayers, we can often interpret them that way. They're boundaries, they're safeguards. It's critical that we keep that difference in mind. Her boundaries and safeguards are about protecting herself. It's not about controlling us.
Here's the honest truth we have to ask ourselves. If he is unwilling to take one meaningful step to make you feel safe in your own home, you need to ask yourself, what relationship do you actually have? Because a relationship takes two people actively choosing it. If you're the only one choosing it, what's that? That's not a relationship. That's like a parent-child dynamic.
It's not relational, it's not healing.
No, it's not.
We don't say that to be harsh. We say it because pretending it's anything else doesn't protect you. You're actually not helping him either. The things we used to cause harm in the past must be contained today. We want to spend a little bit more time on his refusal because that's one of the most painful places that a couple can find themselves in recovery. We want to be really clear about what his refusal to provide safety for you actually communicates.
So containment cannot be forced. That's just the reality. You can't make someone choose to provide safety. If you could force it or attempt to force it, then that would be creating a parent-child dynamic that will eventually collapse.
So when we say refusal, when he refuses to provide containment, what do we actually mean by that? At a minimum, it means this. He's not willing to prioritize your safety over his comfort. Now, it might mean even more than that, but it at least means that. Knowing that is very important information for the betrayed partner.
It really is. It doesn't mean that the relationship is over because people can still rebuild. We've seen this happen. But it does mean that there's usually more work involved because this leads to crisis, sometimes hitting a wall before willingness becomes real. In the meantime, the betrayed partner cannot be expected to simply wait in the wreckage.
Yeah. His refusal doesn't always mean the relationship is over,
Right.
but it might mean it's over. If he never gets there, they are going to have a hard time repairing this relationship.
Yeah. And
He's got to get there.
that's so unfortunate.
He's got to get there. But if you're in that unfortunate situation as a betrayed partner, you've made clear, reasonable, specific request for containment, for safety. He refuses. Your job is not to keep asking. Your job is not to get louder. Your job is now to focus on self, to take care of self, because he's not. Your focus is to create the conditions where your nervous system can stabilize. You've got to take responsibility for your own nervous system. He's not willing to assist you with this. You've got to focus on your own nervous system, even if the relational component can't support you right now.
You can do it. You can make yourself a priority. For some of us, we had no other option but to do that. Making ourselves the priority might mean physical distance. It might mean separating finances. It might mean expanding your support community. It might be telling some family members or reaching out for support from family and friends. It might mean working with professionals to clarify what you need, what you're prepared to do if your needs aren't met. None of that's dramatic, but all of it is responsible. You owe it to yourself to put your needs, your healing ahead of all others. All right. This has been a heavy topic today, so let's bring this home. Here's what we want you to walk away with today. One of the things that I had Rory do was make a list of how you can keep me safe. Make a list of what you're willing to do to keep me safe. I took that list, then I compared it to what I felt I needed to be safe. Then we meshed the two. Sometimes every discomfort that we have doesn't lead to a legitimate containment need. So we have to really evaluate, do I need this for safety or do I need this for something else?
If you don't provide containment, relational recovery is going to be very difficult. Recovery is possible. We see it happen. Real recovery, where both people feel safe, where trust is genuinely rebuilt, where the relationship becomes something that neither one of you could have ever imagined. It starts with a foundation of integrity, and ethical containment is part of that integrity.
So until next time, remember, joy is possible
when you live in integrity.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for listening to Joy Recovery Radio. Healing after betrayal is not about speed, certainty, or outcomes. It begins with clarity, safety, and integrity. If today's episode was helpful, you can find additional educational resources and information about the Joy Recovery Academy and our private coaching at joy-recovery.com. Remember, joy is possible when you live in integrity.